reporting from Insider tells us that rich defendants spend millions of dollars to turn their luxury homes into jails to serve out their very tough sentences. And let's just get into another example of this from Insider. Until former technology CEO Michael Lynch is tried over allegations that he had a role in a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme, a house in the posh Pacific Heights neighborhood that was recently listed for rent at $22,000 a month is his quote cage. He's one of about a dozen to benefit from an interpretation of federal law that lets rich defendants, in essence, be their own jailers. Now, at least 13 people have been released on conditions similar to Lynch, and their charges are just about what you might suspect. From Insider, the charges for the 13 rich defendants are lying to banks, paying bribes, scamming investors out of billions of dollars. And then the last one is one you might not expect: slavery. You read that right, slavery. And judges say they can't do anything about this, or really can't do anything about it, because they say the law gives them little choice but to release these defendants pending trial. And this is a statement from one judge. There are many defendants who are too poor to afford even the most modest of bail bonds or financial conditions of release. This is a serious flaw in our system, but is not a reason to deny a constitutional right to someone who, for whatever reason, can provide reasonable assurances against flight. I mean, but Cenk, reading this, I think it's so absurd because I live in Illinois. We recently passed, monumental bail reform that outlines specific crimes that you're not allowed to impose cash bail on. And then, violent crimes, they can't post bail and get out of jail. But non-violent offenses, they're everyone. You don't have to put out any certain amount of money to get out. And it really is just pay for your freedom. And it doesn't matter how bad the crime was. Slavery was on there. But if you're rich enough to pay, the penalty for committing slavery, it's cool. You could just chill out in a $22,000 rental until your trial happens.
So I read all these cases of rich folks being allowed to stay in their mansions, and I was surprised to find out in some of them they actually do enforce it. Yes, they hire their own private security, and I thought that's a funny joke, right? But at one time, a security guard actually turned in a guy trying to leave the house. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. They're not allowed to have internet, so some of them go a little bit stir crazy. And I thought, well, maybe it's honest. Then you get to, of course, the things that we expected. No, for a lot of them, they hire the security guard. Remember, they're charged with paying bribes. So what do? They bribe the security guard. And besides which, the guy works for him, right? So this thing's a joke. And so, yeah, there's this one guy, Fat Leonard, which amused me to no end. Gee, I wonder if he did it. He's got a mafia nickname. Anyway, so Fat Leonard escaped conveniently. He had hired a criminal or somebody with a criminal record to be his security guard. And the guy, apparently, he's legendary for bribes. He would bribe people with money, sex, and the article described it as Spanish succulent pigs. Who bribes people with pigs? Okay, I guess Fat Leonard. And so that guy's in the wind. He's gone. He's in Venezuela, and we're probably never going to get him back. So this whole thing's pretty much a joke.
Yeah, if you got the money and you got enough power and influence to bribe people off, you're gonna get your way, at least for a little bit. But at the end of the day, people like Sam Bankman-Fried, the reason why he went down is because he ripped off rich people. That's really why he went down. And it's always interesting to think, if you would have just been a little less greedy, you could have gotten away with it either longer or forever. You know what I mean? Like if you wouldn't have just completely blown everything, you could have gotten away with it for longer. But that's ultimately what happens when you rip off rich people, is you're gonna go down. But this isn't surprising at all whatsoever.
Last two things real quick here. So Sam Bankman-Fried might not run because his bail's $250 million. And I don't think the brother has a lot of money left after FTX went down. So that one, at least, he's got some incentive to not run. But honestly, it was Edwin who's part of the crew here that made this point. Pablo Escobar also built his own jail. Okay. So we're literally letting our white collar criminals act like Pablo Escobar now.
Why not? Why not? They keep the bank rolling in. Bankman-Fried keep that bank coming in. You know what I'm saying? So why not?
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.